Haley Black, and the method of communication skills I have chosen to explore is pivotal response training. Pivotal response training, which I will be referring to as PRT throughout the presentation, is an intervention method that is both comprehensive and empirically supported. PRT targets pivotal areas of a child's development by using various procedures, tasks, and direct natural reinforcers. The goal of this method is to help the child increase motivation and engage in communication and learn. Studies have determined that PRT is effective for children with ASD between the ages of 2 and 16. That same research has shown that the use of these motivational techniques can lead to 85 to 90% of children with autism developing verbal communication skills. PRT has been successfully implemented in schools, homes, communities, and other naturalistic settings. The effectiveness of PRT was studied in a manner that targeting certain core areas would produce widespread, generalized changes of untargeted behaviors as well. This is true in a sense that causing behavioral gains in core areas can increase a child's learning curve, improve parental and child affect, decrease stress and anxiety, and decrease disruptive behaviors. Evidence has proven that PRT is capable of improving social, emotional, and communicative behaviors. All of these reasons, along with many more, are enough to prove that pivotal response training is a highly recommended evidence-based intervention. There are many behaviors that can benefit from pivotal response training. These behaviors include motivation, responding to multiple cues, self-management, and self-initiations. For this presentation, we will be focusing on the pivotal skill of motivation. PRT for motivation consists of 7 steps. The first step is simply to establish the learner's attention. This can be done by tapping the learner on the shoulder, making eye contact, or something of that nature. Step 2, the goal is using shared control. This step consists of the teacher deciding part of the routine to complete and which part the learner will finish on their own. This shared control is intended to motivate the learner to interact with the routine, task, or material. The next step is to use learner choice. This means that the teacher will be giving up their share of the control and will just observe the learner enjoying free access to materials. This will give the teacher a better understanding of the learner's preferences of items and activities and toys. This will increase motivation to participate as a learner since he or she will be working with preferred items. In step 4, we will vary tasks and responses. This step is especially helpful in maintaining the learner's interest and engagement. By varying tasks, materials, and activities, it will prevent the child from becoming bored and losing interest. Step 5 will be to intersperse acquisition and maintenance tasks. This step involves switching between new concepts that the learner is currently working on, mixed with tasks that the learner has already mastered. The next step consists of reinforcing response attempts. Throughout the treatment, the teacher will promote response attempts by rewarding the learner. This step is used to increase the probability that users will engage in future attempts. Along with step 6, the final step, step 7, is to use natural and direct reinforcers. A natural reinforcer is a reinforcer that has a direct relationship with the learner. Anthony, it's time for lunch. Let's go to the kitchen. Anthony, look at me. It's time for lunch. Let's head to the kitchen. As you can see, I waited until I had the learner's full attention before providing instructions. I used a brief and clear instruction in order to help the learner understand the task at hand. This step is important in the process because it helps keep the learner focused. This focus will benefit the training because the learner will not be distracted by other activities. Coat. Go. We have to zip it up before we go outside. All right, together. Help me. You finish it. Good job, Anthony. Great zipping. In step 2, you can see that I chose to get the coat out of the closet myself and began to put the coat on for him. Once the learner began to engage in helping with the coat, we shared control of the middle part of the process. Once I felt that the learner was ready to finish the task himself, I pulled away from the help and let him complete the task himself. This demonstrated shared control because I was able to interpret the situation and realize at the moment that the learner was ready to take control. Anthony, if you finish those math problems, you can play with your iPad. During this part of the training, I was able to observe something that the learner was already interested in, his iPad. I used this observation to complete a task such as his math worksheet. I allowed him the opportunity to play with his iPad after he completed a more difficult, less desirable task. I could have also incorporated the iPad into his schoolwork by using some of the educational applications. Why don't we read one of these great books? Look what we have here. As you can see, the learner begins to become disinterested in the schoolwork at hand. He starts to crumple the paper and appears to be getting ready to throw it away from his desk. I was able to provide another educational alternative, such as reading books. I knew that he was interested in reading, so I made sure they were within reach to vary the tasks and keep him interested. Anthony, point to Kansas. Good job, that's right. Anthony, point to Utah. Awesome job. Yes, that is Utah. Anthony, point to North Dakota. Good job. That is North Dakota. You're right. Which way is north? Can you point to north on the map? North. Good job. That's north. During this task, the goal was to intersperse acquisition and maintenance tasks. An acquisition task is a new task for the learner or something that is currently being learned. A maintenance task is a task that the learner already knew. I knew that the learner already mastered where the states were on the map, but I also knew that he had not learned which direction north, east, south, and west were. I will continue to vary back and forth between acquisition tasks and maintenance tasks.
Bye.
Book. Book. In step 6, it is important to remember that any attempt at a goal-directed vocalization needs to be reinforced. Even though the learner said ba instead of book, he needs to be reinforced immediately for attempting. I immediately handed him the book and said the word book, which reinforced vocalization and modeled the desired skill. This will help the learner realize that there is a direct relationship between his attempt at vocalization and receiving the desired item.
Help me.
Sure. There we go. Nice job. You got the toy. During this step, I provided a highly motivating object inside a jar that was difficult to open. I made sure it was a clear jar so the learner could see the object inside of it. The learner is not able to open the jar, so he resorts to other tactics such as banging the jar on the table, flipping it upside down, and shaking it. He at first simply looks at me for help, but I do not respond to his physical request. Once he verbally requests, "Help me," I reinforce the request by giving him access to the jar. Data collection is an essential step in PRT. From the very beginning, it is important to be collecting baseline data. This baseline data will be a good comparison for intervention data throughout the training. The types of data to collect will be based on the type of target behavior and the intention of the intervention. General types of data can include frequency or event recording, partial and whole interval, duration and latency recording. Data specific to PRT will come from everyday environments rather than special purpose assessments. During these data collections, it is important to monitor the settings and types of tasks that are being varied. This is important because it will help assess the association between parent or practitioner behaviors and child behaviors in progress. It will be important to individualize data so that each step, task, material can be analyzed separately. Since there will be many variations in the data on a day-to-day basis, it is necessary to collect data probes that represent what is going on with the learner rather than the constant data on every training opportunity. You can use data collection tables such as these examples. Overall, pivotal response training is an excellent evidence-based practice that will benefit children with autism in a positive way and will help them with behavior skills such as motivation, responding to multiple cues, self-management, and self-initiations.